Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about thrust vectoring and how Gaijin can implement it in the next upcoming updates. Now, before we get into that, make sure to subscribe and like this video because it does help push these videos out in the algorithm, of course, if you guys enjoy this content. But other than that, thank you guys for clicking. Now, thrust vectoring is a feature that War Thunder has added a while ago, but not in the sense that you might think. You can see here we're in the Yak 141 and we used it. I guess you would technically call this VIFing, but it's essentially the same thing. You're manipulating your engine to, give you certain AOA or flight performance parameters, right? That's essentially the gist of thrust vectoring. Engine turn, now you go that way, right? Very simple. Tell me in the comments down below what thrust vectoring aircraft you guys would like to see. I'm very interested. There's a lot more than people might actually think. For example, there's an F-18 thrust vectoring variant, there's an F-16 and an F-15, and then of course there's the European or German-American aircraft. Although I don't think that could carry any air-to-air, armaments, but that's besides the point. Now, how can they implement this without it being super overpowered? Well, for starters, a lot of Red 4 type jets or Warsaw type jets really suck in War Thunder currently, and people generally just don't want to fly them. In my opinion, they're okay, but jets like the J-10B can help the Chinese tech tree. Maybe that's a little too advanced, but still, it has thrust vectoring. It's, gonna improve their win rates. People actually have a reason to actually farm those tech trees, because as of now, people just really don't care about Warsaw jets because, the AIM-120 and all that stuff, right? I think it could balance things out. Another jet they can add that can totally balance things out would be the Su-37, which was a Su-27 basically with canards and thrust vectoring nozzles. So this could be an early introduction to actually, adding thrust vectoring jets without adding the Su-35 immediately. The Terminator, super good airframe. I feel like it should be able to carry most of the Russian weapons that they usually carry. And as you can see here in this clip, this is I believe this is an Su-35 doing those maneuvers. So I'm assuming the Terminator should be able to do things similar to that, especially since it has canards and thrust vectoring nozzles. But will it be balanced? Honestly, I think it'd be fine, especially at top tier, because when do you actually get into a dogfight where that's, necessary? And even then, when you do use thrust vectoring, you're going to bleed almost all your speed. Sure, he'll be able to get an R-73 shot on you, an R-77 or whatnot, but as long as you're using countermeasures, you should be fine. The area where I see thrust vectoring working probably the best would be like 12-0, anywhere from 12-0 to 12-7 maybe. I think that's like an area where you're still fighting jets who aren't necessarily super overpowered, and you could pretty much hold your own and dogfights still happen. That's like the place where you're going to want a thrust vectoring jet. Although, again, I'm not too well versed how many jets have it, what jets. I mean, just making this video, I learned the J-10B has thrust vectoring, right? I know a lot of American planes were retrofitted to be thrust vectoring capable for tests, so maybe those test beds could be at lower BRs because maybe they don't carry Fox 3s or maybe they don't carry Fox 1s. You sort of get the point. Now, what I think Gaijin will do, and I'm going to call Russia, China, and anyone allied with them, I'll call them Red 4, and anyone allied with the US or NATO, we'll just call them Blue 4. What I think they'll do is Red 4 is going to get thrust vectoring first. I mean, it makes sense, right? They're doing pretty bad currently because of the AIM-120. No one wants to fly Red 4. So it only makes sense that they get their thrust vectoring first. Now, before you go crazy, that's just how War Thunder is. Each update, it's going to pander towards the Red 4 or Blue 4, right? That's sort of been the trend since, like, as long as I can remember. I guess since modern jets have been added. Blue 4 gets this. People are like, oh, it's overpowered. Then Red 4 gets this. People are like, oh, it's overpowered, right? The pendulum swings. That's the word, right? So I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to give the Russians their thrust vectoring first. And then people are going to start complaining because they're like, oh, why? Well, there's American jets that get thrust vectoring. Where are those? They'll start complaining. A couple patches later, then the Americans get their early thrust vectoring jets. just to remedy that. And by then, we'll probably have some other fighter jet, and everyone will forget about thrust vectoring, right? That's I think they're going to add it, because that's sort of how they add everything new, including, like, you know, Fox 3s. Currently, the US has the best performing Fox 3, which is the AIM-120. Whether that's volume or performance, doesn't matter. It's getting the most kills right now, right? And again, thrust vectoring is not going to make Russian trees automatically 100% better, but they will help, because if you can just pull your nose onto a target instantly and shoot a missile and then vector back to the previous vector you were just pointing at, that's pretty good performance, I have to say. But it's not going to be game changing, because you're still going to have missiles like the AIM-120 and AIM-9Ms flying everywhere. You know, bleeding all your speed is going to make you vulnerable, but it will help you in a dogfight. If you get into a dogfight with someone, you're always going to have the first pull. You go into a one circle, you're always going to have nose on first. So that's a pretty big advantage. I think that's enough to actually get players to want to fly Red 4 jets more. We'll see how it goes. I know I'm definitely going to be flying Red 4 jets a lot more if they have thrust vectoring first, just because, like, come on, it's cool. If we get a Terminator, I'm flying that thing religiously in sim. But tell me what you guys think about this in the comments down below. The one last thing I want to talk about is how Gaijin can actually implement this. Now, with mouse aim or mouse and keyboard, I can't really think of a way besides just pitching that thrust vectoring could work. Maybe they add a bind where you click it and then the nozzles turn on. Actually, I would actually like if they had a bind for that, but I don't know how. Like, would you just pull full deflection by moving your mouse and the nozzles just vector the jet in that direction? But there's just so many variables when that happens. Your jet's basically drifting through the sky. So we'll see how they implement it. The only thing I can think of is they're going to add a button, right? And once you click that button, if you pull full deflection, your jet will do whatever. Doesn't matter at what speed. Of course, your wings can rip off and whatnot, but I think that's what Gaijin is going to do. In terms of sim, it makes sense because you're using a joystick. You can sort of control how much pitch you're giving to the aircraft. So pressing a button and then just fully pulling on the stick, that makes sense. It's simple. It works. But yeah, tell me what you guys think. Do you think they're gonna have it as a tech tree when they first add it, or do you think it'll be event vehicle or premium? I know 2 videos ago I mentioned that the Su-37 could be a premium theoretically. I could just imagine that jet being a premium, although I don't want it to. But we'll see what Gaijin does. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Will we see thrust vectoring in the next couple patches? Who knows? Take care, guys.